So James Cleverly is here, former Foreign Secretary, of course. So James, very good morning to you.
Mike, good morning.
Good to see you. Thanks very much indeed. Before we start, I just want to play you a little a clip that we have from yesterday. A guy called Max Radford got in touch with us. He's trapped in Israel. He's a British citizen. Can't get out. Wants to know what is going to be done to try and help him to get out. Have a look.
The Foreign Office just embarrasses itself compared to other countries. The plan is absolutely ludicrous. So what they're now telling us is, or suggesting, that you can make your way to the Egyptian border or the Jordanian border to find your way out. To get to the Egyptian border, that's a 5-hour, partially dirt track trek through the desert to the south, to an unfriendly country with no protection, no shelters along the way. What are you supposed to do? You know, hide in a sand dune if there's a rocket attack. And by the way, it completely goes against local guidance. Local guidance is to stay close to a shelter. David Lammy, I'd say quite frankly, absolutely lied to my face. I posted online myself about how he absolutely stands with Israel and we are with you and we're behind you. And to be honest with you, throughout this war, he's paid nothing but lip service, and to be frank, been an absolute embarrassment to our country. Now that we have British citizens that are caught up in this, the ability of the Foreign Office and himself is quite frankly shambolic. But I do want to say one thing, that this proves one thing without shadow of a doubt, that Israel is absolutely right to go into Iran. These are ballistic missiles. Thank God for the Iron Dome. Millions of people would be harmed if not killed.
It's obviously an unfortunate situation, James. Probably a lot of these people went to Israel when they didn't know it was dangerous to go there. Should the Foreign Office be doing more for them?
Mike, I've been involved as Foreign Secretary and before that as a Minister in the Foreign Office on a number of evacuation operations, and they are never easy. And the lesson that I take from my experience in this is that keeping people informed accurately and in a timely way is absolutely key, and that includes members of Parliament. I've been contacted by people that I've worked with, professional colleagues and constituents who are currently stuck in Israel, and the thing that comes across over and over again is that they're getting conflicting advice. They're being told to move to Egypt or Jordan while simultaneously being told to stay put. MPs, when I was Foreign Secretary and we had to do something like this with people in Sudan, I made sure that MPs were kept well informed. So far, we've had no formal correspondence from the Foreign Office in terms of how to advise our constituents when they get in contact with us. So I'm having to just direct people to the Foreign Office website, and I would urge people to do that, register their presence in Israel. But the information to MPs is lacking, and the information to British people in Israel is inconsistent, and that is unbelievably frustrating and ultimately quite dangerous.
It really is, because this is a story that's been going on for a couple of days. We sort of picked up on it yesterday, kind of almost by accident, and suddenly we got a lot of people getting in touch with us who are listening to the show in Israel, who said, you know, we just want to know what we can do, because at the moment, you know, the suggestion of driving, you know, some distance across a desert, effectively, to a foreign border with Egypt or Jordan, which is quite dangerous because they're told that, you know, there's bombs flying in, there's ballistic missiles flying in from Iran. You know, it's not a very safe place to be moving around in, unprotected. And David Lammy has been very quiet all week. He's hardly said a word about Iran. He's had nothing to say much about British policy in Iran. Keir Starmer was the same. We don't really know what Britain would do. You know, sort of Downing Street apparently was very wishy-washy yesterday when they were asked whether or not the Chagos Islands might be used for an American attack. You know, we don't seem to be anywhere on this.
Well, I mean, I find this frustrating. I've been in David Lammy's position. Now, these are never easy, and I think it's only fair that I make it clear that circumstances like this are never easy. Airspace is closed, so the normal mechanisms for evacuating British citizens are denied to us. Clearly, we're not going to be able to put in any, you know, British flagged aircraft or the armed forces or anything like that. So this is not an easy situation. But because it is such a difficult situation, clarity of information speedy transmission of information and useful and accurate information is absolutely key. And as I say, my frustration as now a backbench member of Parliament trying to help my constituents, trying to help colleagues, trying to help friends who have got in contact with me, is that I don't have updated, accurate information to send to them. Now, I'm in a lucky position. I've been able to get in touch with David Lammy. I've exchanged messages with David Lammy to let him know. I'm not asking for any special pleading or special favours, but I want him to know how disconcerting it is for the people that have contacted me.
Yeah.
That the information they're getting seems to be so, lacking in detail.
Yeah. I mean, it was suggested to me that there are aircraft in Cyprus, which is not obviously very far away from Israel, RAF aircraft, Hercules-type planes, C-17s I think they're called, which could go in and carry out possibly as many as 800 people at a time per plane. And we're also told that the Americans are airlifting American citizens out. So, I mean, it's possible to do, surely.
Well, things that are technically possible can sometimes be incredibly challenging militarily, diplomatically. Now, look, I don't know the practicalities, I don't know the details any more than any other backbencher would. And that's the point. So you ask me questions like that, Mike, and I can't give you a credible answer because I'm not getting the information from the Foreign Office as a member of Parliament.
All right.
And others will be in a similar situation. And that's really frustrating for us because we want to give our constituents the most up-to-date information.
Well, what you can perhaps give me an indication of your thought process on is our policy currently with regard to an attack on Iran, because I don't know what it is. Keir Starmer has said that he wants to de-escalate the situation. G7 statement said they want to de-escalate the situation. It's obviously gone quite far beyond that now. Donald Trump says he's going to give them a couple of weeks. There's no real clue as to what Britain's role might be if anything happens, and I think the public deserves to know what our role is likely to entail, because, clearly Iran is a dangerous country to the world. They're supporters of terrorist activity in all sorts of different ways, whether it's through the Houthis or Hezbollah or Hamas, or whether it's activities even just on European soil. There are plenty of people who think that we should be helping the Americans, and there are some who don't think we should. And it's not clear which one of those Keir Starmer is.
Well, I listened to Keir Starmer speak for 60 seconds about this issue at the tail end of last week. And he basically said that they were, the UK was very concerned. He was concerned about escalation. These were cause for concern. And he kept telling us how he felt,
right,
but he wasn't telling us what he was planning to do.
Right.
And I think the challenge that he's now finding is there's no obviously popular right answer. All the options in front of us are difficult, and when confronted with challenging options like that, it seems that he freezes in the headlights, right, like a rabbit on the road. And look, there are very, very good reasons to ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. It has threatened to eradicate Israel entirely. It is a threat to its Arab neighbours, and it has conducted aggressive actions in Europe as well. So preventing them getting a nuclear weapon is incredibly important. That's been a long-standing UK foreign policy objective. But this kind of, we'll see how it feels, we'll see what the Americans do, we'll tell you how we feel. All these things really does not inspire confidence. And in foreign affairs, clarity of thought, precision of information, and confidence in your outcomes is absolutely key. And we're just seeing none of those things from Keir Starmer.
No, and I suspect much of that has to do with Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, whose advice apparently to Keir Starmer is that launching an attack on Iran could be unlawful. I listened to Emily Thornberry, the former Attorney General, or former Shadow Attorney General, I think, on a show yesterday, who was saying basically we shouldn't help the Americans unless we're attacked. Which I think for most British people is going, so we have to wait to be attacked before we do anything. It's kind of mad.
Well, I don't think I've seen a single piece of advice from Lord Hermer that isn't contrary to what I believe is in Britain's best interest. I think it was a very foolish appointment, and it is it is clear that he misunderstands his job. His job is to make sure that he gives clear advice to the government, to the Prime Minister, to help us defend British interests and British people, rather than what he seems to have had a history of doing, which is finding ways of people who are opposed to our way of life, opposed to our security and economic interests, and be on their side of almost every argument. It was a shockingly bad appointment, and we're now seeing the repercussions in this frankly limiting and illogical advice.
Absolutely. Let me just ask you quickly about the economy. A couple of breaking news stories this morning. Sales at UK retailers down in May as spending on food and clothing dipped. Office of National Statistics say total volume of retail sales fell by 2.7% in May. Also, the Treasury borrowed more than expected during the month of May, despite increasing receipts from Rachel Reeves's tax raid. Public sector net borrowing $17.7 billion. Just last month. I mean, they're averaging around about 20 billion a month at this point. I mean, that is unsustainable, surely.
Well, the quote that you read out said, borrowing was higher than expected. Well, look, I was expecting borrowing to go up because the government's maths just doesn't balance.
No.
Rachel Reeves is claiming that she's going to get all these tax receipts, but is going out of her way to chase businesses out of the UK, to dissuade people from employing people, to basically remove money from the money supply so people aren't spending. So whilst the detail may be a bit of a surprise, that very negative direction of travel was entirely predictable and indeed entirely predicted. The simple fact of the matter is that this Labour government have got their economic policy completely back to front. They are chasing entrepreneurs out of the country. They are dissuading people from employing, and they are dissuading people from spending. They need to change all those things. Otherwise, we are going to go into the autumn of this year, I think, with unemployment rising, the economy stagnating, and all of us suffering.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very miserable looking summer. I mean, thank God the weather's actually good, because that's about the only thing to look forward to. But James, thank you very much indeed. Good to talk to you. So James Cleverly, MP, former Foreign Secretary there.